and Circuses,
Yes.
MMA Mobsters White House edition with my co-host, the Chosen One, who is currently not at his house doing this broadcast. You might notice that there's some weird things on the wall behind him, and he is totally unshaven and wearing a hat and laid up, not from MMA training.
Oh,
He did not injure himself
be a lot cooler if I did.
training, and
Be a lot cooler if I did.
yeah. So, Josh, you can tell the story on how this situation arose and why you're such a trooper doing a show from a hospital bed.
Well, you see, Pat, I was over in London with Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz and
I wish that were the case. I wish that were
Lee
the case.
Murray and Patman and the legend Hall of Famer Pat Militech. We got a big bar fight. No, I that would have been way cooler. Where I live in Northeast Iowa got pounded by rain, even some derecho type stuff, and so I'm up on my roof, getting rid of some pretty massive branches, and down I went and broke two heels and one ankle. So I've managed to live most of my life and never have a big catastrophic injury until now. And so I got admitted to the hospital yesterday morning, and I told them I have a podcast to do from 3 to 4 on Friday. So I don't care if you have to cut the ankle off or what you have to do. Is what I told them. I asked them very politely. I have a podcast to do. If you could please let me, and they are letting me. So, in all seriousness, keep me in your thoughts and prayers or whatever else. I do have surgery next week on both feet, but I am optimistic that I will recover just fine and be walking again. And how many people get to say they did a podcast live from their hospital bed? So,
Well, you have entered that upper echelon of people, and of course we do wish you well. But the show must go on,
show goes on,
as they
baby.
say. Yeah. And look, I mean, here's the thing. Last week we did really well, and we'll talk about that in a minute on our picks for the show. But this week, I just have a feeling, considering they might have you drugged up on some painkillers and some other things, that I might have an advantage. And I think I'm going to take advantage of this and probably mess with you a little bit on your picks, just to see what happens, how the medication, if it's working, we'll kind of go from there and kind
Yeah,
of see what's going on. So
yeah.
so
It's gonna be a
let's.
sample size. If I get every bet right, then I'll have to do these opioids every week, and if I don't, then stay away from the opioids. I guess is the moral of the story.
Hey, no, I think it's time with only 7 fights on the card. Think about this:
Yes,
doing a 7 fight parlay
I
might
kind
be
of have to. We have to.
just 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 to mess with it, right? Just
The
to
lucky
see
number.
play with the parlay gods a little bit on that
Yeah.
one.
I'm going to hold you to that, Pat Militech. Let's remember that, and Lee will remind us, and we will. I have my trusty little DraftKings sportsbook here on my phone. At the end of the show, we will get 7 bets, and we will see what the odds are. And I bet they'll be pretty high if we're being irresponsible enough to do a 7 leg parlay. Those are going to be some pretty high odds.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about last week. Break it down a little bit for how you did and how everything turned out for you, and now I mean you've got to be doubly accurate now because you've got hospital bills to pay for. So here we are working overtime.
I have pretty good insurance, so I'm lucky there. Yeah, Pat. It's not just us. We both did well on our picks. I know I do a lot more betting than you do, but you're always very impressive with your analysis and your picks, and you put both of us together. We usually do pretty damn good. I'll kind of run through this card last week real quick, and then I'm excited to get into why we're all here, which is the bread and circuses at the UFC White House. That's an original Pat Militech line, by the way. I've heard probably 30 people say bread and circuses. I want to give Pat credit for coining that. So yeah, well, we liked Souza. Devastating head kick there in the first round. We had two girls who did not have very impressive records in the next fight. We were kind of avoiding that. I really liked Brito, and I didn't understand why he was so cheap. We're talking about a guy that was like minus 130. And I was like, why isn't his line soaring out to minus 300, minus 400? So we got a gift there with Brito. And the thing I said about Levitt is unless he can hold you down for 15 minutes, he doesn't really have anything else in his arsenal. And Brito
Yeah.
is very good on the ground and very good on the feet. So still to this day, have no idea why that was only minus 130, but that was a gift from the heavens. I love Chelsea Chandler. Chelsea Chandler was the same thing. She's like minus 150, Pat. And I was like, Cachoeira can thump, but she has no takedown defense. And Chandler's one of the best wrestlers in the division. Why is Chandler only minus 150? She won in the first round. Brito won in the first round. Chandler won in the first
Yeah.
round. Shirez, who we both liked a lot, that was a line movement pick. Shirez flipped from underdog to favorite. He wins in the first round. Marcus McGee won a dominant decision. We
Hmm.
liked him. I was nervous about Costa because his line opened at minus 900 and dropped down to minus 400. So I was like, I guess I'll do a crazy underdog pick with Schnell, but I just can't bet Costa. Militech stuck to his guns. He's like, line movement be damned. I still like Costa. What did Costa do? Dominated. Took him about 2 minutes to get a knockout. We both like Bryce Mitchell. He dominated, finally got a finish in the third round. We liked Iwo Baranuski to beat up Tafa. First round. A lot of first round finishes, Pat, which I love to see as a pro sports bettor. I got enough stress in my life with a broken ankle and two broken heels. I don't need fights to be going 15 minutes and a guy I have $1,000 bet on loses the first round and I'm like, oh man, do I cash out? Do I stay in? Give me those first round finishes, baby. Get it over with. No stress. What do you think?
Right. And then Ziam lost to Nolan, which was a bit of a surprise to both of us, right?
Yeah, I think it was more as I'm remembering that we talked about it, not to pat myself on the back, but I did say I don't understand why Ziam is a minus 300 favorite, but he's still my pick. It was kind of the inverse of why is Bryce Mitchell only minus 150? Why is Chelsea Chandler
Sure.
only minus 120? Why is Joe Anderson Brito only minus 120? I thought he was maybe too big of a favorite. Close fight. Nolan got him. Nolan's a good kid, man. A little bit chinny, but he's good. And then Brendan Allen looked very good against Shabazian. I told you guys if that fight gets into the second round, hammer Brendan Allen because Shabazian turns into it's like Cinderella at midnight. After the first round, he turns into a different fighter, and that fighter is not very good. So Brendan Allen won. And I
Yeah,
said,
and Brendan Allen now 15-4
yeah.
in the UFC, which is a freaking incredible record in the UFC. He's done really freaking well for himself, and I'm really happy for him.
How do you feel about him demanding a title shot?
Look, I mean, at 15-4 and being ranked, probably now, what's he going to move up to from fifth, third, second? I don't know.
Yeah, let's kind of break down that division. So you have Sean Strickland is your champion. Kamzat is looming there in the wings. Will they give him an immediate rematch? Will they not? Renair de Ritter is in there. Yeah,
I think Brendan Allen's a tougher fight for Strickland than any of those guys.
you got to make him top three. I think Brendan Allen's got to be top three in that division.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And then move on to the main event, Bonfim versus Bilal Muhammad. I, I don't like to disparage guys, but striking game not sharp, not sharp, offensively or defensively.
For both guys, or for
Neither
just
one of them.
Bilal?
What's that?
For both fighters, or just Bilal?
Both.
You
I
didn't like
think
either
both
guy's
looked.
game.
I mean, Gabriel Bonfim is a really good athlete. I've never looked at Bilal Muhammad as like a supreme athlete, like super fast, super agile, super anything. He's just got really good work ethic and he's tough as nails and he's always kind of gotten by on that. But when I watched them both stand up and strike the way that they did, I was sitting there thinking to myself, I mean, literally, in my prime, I don't think I would have had any problem standing up with either one of those guys at all, like
I don't, I don't,
not even remotely.
I don't disagree with that at
So
all.
given,
I don't
and I
think.
don't, and I'm just saying they're just not world class strikers in any way. Obviously, very good wrestler with Bilal Muhammad, very good jujitsu with Bonfim, but the striking thing, you could tell the crowd was not having a lot of fun with that.
Yeah,
You know,
no, I don't think that that's arrogant at you to say at all. I think prime Pat Miletich would have mowed both those guys down. An interesting thing with Bilal Muhammad here, I did have it was kind of a wash for me because I had maybe like 500 on Bilal Muhammad, which was pretty much double your money, and then 500 on Fight Goes to Decision, which was double your money. It became obvious pretty quickly that one of those bets was going to lose and one of them was going to win because neither
yeah,
guy, and keep in mind that Bonfim has had gas tank issues. So I think when he really popped Bilal a couple times in the first and second rounds, but didn't get him out of there, he's like, okay, now I just got to kind of turn this into a sparring session so I don't gas
sure,
myself out. And one last thing that I'll throw back to you, buddy. I think this Bilal Muhammad thing is something to look at. I think we're looking at a guy who doesn't care if he loses as long as he doesn't get finished, and he's a tough SOB. So I think looking into the next fight, I'm gonna bet Bilal's opponent pretty heavily because he does seem the guy's an animal and he's been through so many wars. It makes sense that he seems to be on the downside of his fighting career, but also it seems to be more important to him that he doesn't get finished. Even more important than winning. He took some shots from Bone Fiend. One knocked his mouth guard clear on the other side of the octagon. He was still coming, bloody battered mess at the end. But it means a lot to Bilal Muhammad to not be finished. And it's not like Bilal Muhammad is out here finishing people. So as long as he fights, Pat, I think Bilal Muhammad fights to go the distance is one of the biggest ATMs in MMA right now.
yeah. Bilal Muhammad, am I correct? He's had 22 fights go to decision in his career. That's a lot of fights to go to decision, bro. A lot. So yeah. All right. So we did well. Paid your bills. Did good on that. The news now obviously moves to the White House edition of the UFC. Of course, the judge ruled that Trump can host the UFC event. You know, against the whoever it was that filed the motion or was looking to try and stop it, whatever. So the show goes on with the UFC, but but potentially there could be a couple storms show up in DC. One of them being a real storm,
Oh, well,
thunderstorm, and causing some problems for the show. Which, when you do an outside event, that's what you ask for. You have to deal with it, and so I've been one that tracks weather for years. I used to storm chase for about 20 years during my fight career, just because I love the adrenaline so much. And yeah, it legitimately could happen, and that show could be canceled or postponed, whatever. So, what are your thoughts if that happens?
yeah, I know that I do quite a bit of NASCAR, and this is going to mess with me a little bit with UFC being on a Sunday night because usually Sundays are my NASCAR day. But this does happen in NASCAR where the race will be supposed to happen at 1 in the afternoon and it's raining. And so they delay and they delay and they delay, and the announcers just sit there and talk about bullshit for 8 hours, and then they're finally ready to race. So would the UFC do that? Would they just sit around and Joe Rogan and Daniel Cormier put each other in headlocks for 6 hours before the fights finally start? I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. They've put so much money into this and so much hype. I think that they will do whatever it takes to make these fights happen, up to and including delays. Who knows?
Well, you only have so much file footage ready to go and loaded for going behind the scenes and everything else. And again, we talked about the fear of the people in the crowd. Many of them potentially melting if the water hits them. So we've got that. And then the other
It's a
storm,
very real
the
concern.
other storm.
I think it's good that you brought that up. I think, yeah, we could, yeah, it's a real problem.
But the other storm that we have to look out for, if Strickland shows up with a bullhorn to cause some problems, that's I that's pure entertainment. I mean, really, you could do kind of the pay-per-view on Sean Strickland. Really,
You could, you could.
just do that, right?
I think that obviously it's not happening with me having not one but two broken feet. But if in a different universe, let's get out there with Sean Strickland. I think we could get more people watching you, me, and him on the White House lawn making fun of him than actually watching the event. But
I just want to see him in a rain poncho outside the fence with a
with
bullhorn,
the rain,
just making fun of Dana White, just having a good time. I think that's I think they could sell that. I'd buy tickets to that one
I
actually.
was
So,
I was doing
but
some
the
research, Pat, because I'm always researching, and I was looking into lizard people. When exposed to water, the human skin will wash away and reveal who the lizard people are. So I think that's an
we
interesting.
are well. You got to have Dicinian dye glasses, the goggles, to see them
Of course,
actually. And so,
of course.
I advise people to go out, research Dicinian dye goggles, and look into having those made for yourself because it's illegal now,
No
Josh,
way.
to have Dicinian dye goggles because of the things that fighter pilots saw during World War II on missions scared them so much that they outlawed them.
Goodness gracious.
How's that?
Yeah. Our producer's telling me right now that
Yeah, so
23 fights go to decision, and I'm pretty sure he has a whopping one knockout in his entire UFC career.
yeah, and seven
Was
seven submissions at
yeah.
least. So not a lot of finishes there. Anyway, okay, so um, let's move on to Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor in the news, obviously, again for
Yeah.
something negative, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um, that talk about that. You brought that up to me in the conversation pre-show. So
Yeah, I'll kind of sum it up, and then I do really want to get your thoughts on it. So Connor kind of does what he wants and often doesn't have to deal with consequences like normal people like you and I do, especially legal consequences. But something that he didn't really get away from was he fought Dustin Poirier in, it would have been summer of 2021, and that was the squash match because Connor beat Poirier a long, long time ago when Connor was making his amazing run. And then Dustin finally gets his rematch. Connor was about a minus 350 favorite. People thought this was going to be a walk in the park, and Poirier shows that just because you beat me once doesn't mean you own me forever. And Poirier just showed some incredible growth and really dominated Connor, ended up finishing him. So Connor wants his rematch. Connor gets his rematch and gets his leg shattered, similar to what happened to my legs yesterday. So what Connor does is he gets on some extremely illegal steroids to heal himself, and also there's some other benefits that happen from that. And USADA is trying to drug test him, and they show up at Connor's house, and he hides in the back. And then they show up the next day, and oh, Conor McGregor is not here in Dublin, Ireland. He went to New York City, so you can go drug test him there. Oh, he isn't in New York City. You just missed him. He's in Russia now. So he was playing almost a cartoonish game with these USADA people. And as I'm sure you know, Pat, they don't like to play games. They aren't big on game playing. And so they're like, if you're gonna keep on running from us, we're just gonna suspend you. And so he never actually tested positive for steroids because he didn't let them test him. And it's since come out what we all know that he was on not just steroids, but some rare steroids that are hard to get. He's got some doctor's name I can't even say. And so this has come out. He's back in the USADA testing pool, as all UFC fighters are, and he is clean for now. My question to you is how much does the 2 year run cycle of steroids that he did while he was out of the testing pool, how much of an advantage does that give him? And how much will that mess him up down the road? Because Steroids are no joke, man. But do you think that gives him a big advantage fighting Max Holloway, that he's got all this steroid powers? What do you think?
I don't know, like the life of that. It couldn't be 2 years. I wouldn't guess that those benefits would continue to help him and probably hinder his own hormone production more than anything else. So it may have actually caused him more problems than it was worth to just take the natural route and heal up, over time the way it's supposed to. The hormone treatments and things like that, I'm not sure. It's not saying exactly what he was on or any of that, so I have no idea. And I research, have spent 40 years researching natural substances for the most part anyway. So I would say I don't think he's going to have a benefit at all. If anything,
Wow.
probably put on more muscle than he needed, and cutting weight. When you have lowered testosterone, you have weight problems, you have all kinds of other issues. So if his testosterone production, natural production, was affected, it's going to cause him problems, muscle mass percentage to fat, and aggression and athletic ability and all the other things that natural testosterone production would have given him anyway, right? So I don't know. Time will tell us, and how difficult of a weight cut it's going to be for him to get down to that weight. You know what I mean? Because he was way up over 200 pounds, I think, for a while there, right?
Yeah, and forgive me for a stupid question here, Pat. You can't really cut muscle like you can cut water weight and stuff. Like you talked about putting on a ton of muscle. That's not something you can just cut, right?
Well, your body will cannibalize itself depending on how you do it. If you do it right, you want to keep as much muscle as possible and get rid of as much fat as possible, and then you cut the water weight at the last few days. Technically, is when you do that, so that you're depleted in the least amount of time possible, and then rehydrate and renutrify and get yourself ready to go for a fight. But so it's, you know, yeah, I mean, Roberto Duran, this was always rumored and talked about in the boxing world. Roberto Duran would literally go on vacation after fights and just eat everything and drink and have a good time, and for months and months and months. And he reportedly would go get liposuction before he would start camp,
Hmm.
so that he had removed a bunch of the fat from his body to begin with, so that he could go back to camp and train. Roberto Duran was a different animal.
Yes.
Like, Roberto Duran was a legendary, absolute badass in the boxing world. For any of the younger people that aren't aware of Roberto Duran, go watch black and white films of
Legend.
him when
Legend.
he was dismantling everyone across the globe. Just a unique kind of absolute badass he was. But anyway, all right. So I
Well,
think
let me
that's
jump
it for
in
the
here, Pat.
news.
I was doing a little this literally just dropped like in an hour ago. So I want to get your thoughts on this. And this might be a good clip, Lee. This gets juicier with Connor. So Connor's main doctor is a man named Neil Atrake. Mr. Neil Atrake, or Dr. Atrake, should I say, when he's not helping Conor McGregor get steroids, what does he do, Pat? He is the team physician for the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Los Angeles Rams. Now, they hate steroids in Major League Baseball even more than they hate steroids in the UFC. Steroids almost ruined the sport of Major League Baseball. This story just got a little bit juicier, and it is reported on this is New York Times and LA Times that have confirmed this, that Major League Baseball has met with this doctor, and he could very well lose his position as the primary physician for the Dodgers and the Rams because he's dabbling in getting Connor steroids on the side. What do you think about all that, man? This is all confirmed. This isn't fake news. This is a pretty crazy story.
Well, you know what's interesting? I've never really been a baseball guy. But I can tell you this, that when McGuire and Souza and all those guys were
So,
smoking home runs out of the parks, everybody became involved and excited and started watching baseball. So of course, those guys were all caught for using performance enhancing drugs and all that stuff. But they're not out punching each other in the face. They're not smashing into each other on a football field. They're not attacking each other. They're just hitting home runs,
Yeah,
right? And catching balls and throwing balls and stuff like
exactly.
that. Did it give them an advantage? Of course it did. But at that time in history, everybody was watching baseball. So you got to say to yourself, I don't know if these guys want to do this. Have a tested league and an untested league. Who gets the most TV rights? Who, whatever. But if they're going to do that, but interesting about the doctor though, his history with the Rams and the Dodgers, and helping Connor. Well, by association, he's guilty of something. Everybody's obviously going to come to that conclusion, and
Yeah.
hopefully, it washes out for him, however it's supposed to. But
Yeah.
I'm just making that comment on that. I didn't ever give a shit about baseball until those guys were smoking home runs out of
It
the.
was it
Just
definitely
because I never played baseball, you know what I mean?
exactly. One last question, then we'll get into some fight picks for this amazing
Yeah.
UFC White House card. I wanted to ask you, Pat,
Right.
because you've done so much research and been so involved. I wanted to kind of talk to Coach Pat here. What would you say to a young fighter who's maybe down in the minor leagues and they're not testing as meticulously for steroids down in the lower farm leagues of MMA? What do you say to a 20-year-old kid who's like, man, I can take steroids. I can become twice as fast, twice as strong. And then when I get to the UFC, I'll kind of wean myself off of it. There's some pretty major, and you talked about it, some pretty major long-term side effects to this. What do you say to kids, young fighters who maybe want to take a little shortcut and do some old steroids?
Well, I remember my first experience dealing with somebody on steroids in high school when I was wrestling as a junior in high school. I wrestled a senior from Muscatine who was unbelievably strong, like literally just not even human strength. It was very foreign to me to feel that level of power, and I competed against people. I fought a Russian who was 6'5" and on roids. I've fought some guys that were obviously on roids and stuff like that. I will say this though, from my experiences with guys like Matt Hughes, Steve Rusk, and a lot of other guys that were natural, that there was no level of power that steroids could have equaled
Really?
in that development that they had of constant pressure, constant competition, the the bone density, the muscle density, the tendon density, and obviously eating whole foods their whole lives, nutrient rich food, and genetics. They had some genetics, obviously, excuse me, that went into that. But I mean, the first time I wrestled with Hughes for 45 minutes, I asked him when we were done well, we wrestled longer than 45 minutes. We actually wrestled for like an hour and a half. I asked him, I go, dude, what are you on?
You just
And he
straight up
goes,
asked him, like,
I
are
asked him,
you
I
on
go,
here?
what are you on? Because I'd never felt anybody my size that
Oh,
strong. And I
that's
fought
a good
I
story.
fought
Keep going.
Mikey Burnett. I fought Mikey Burnett, who, was a Greco national champ and bench press 405 pounds at 170 pounds and could deadlift over 400 pounds, all that stuff. Hughes was way stronger than him. And I said, what are you on? And he looked at me and he was offended. He goes, what do you mean, what am I on? I go, what kind of steroids are you taking? And he goes, I'm not on shit. He goes, this is natural. And same thing with Steve Rusk. I mean, I battled with Steve for like an hour the first time we wrestled, and it was insane. Like when a horse wants to move and you're standing next to it, you're going to get moved.
Yeah.
That's the kind of strength that Steve Rusk had. Like that's so I would say to kids, work your ass off, put the highest grade nutrients, natural nutrients, not shit created in laboratories, because now the supplement industry is pounded. 95% of all supplements are created in laboratories. And I just want to remind everybody, you were not made in a laboratory. That's why we use products like cell saviors that are meant to go into the human organism and rebuild at a cellular and DNA and genetic level the most powerful human being you can become. Don't use lab created stuff if you can help it. Just don't, because it'll come back to bite you in the ass for sure. All right, so moving on, we'll move on to our picks for
Good.
the
I think
upcoming card. Ready?
that was a great clip, Lee. Words of wisdom from Pat Militech. Pat, we only got 7 fights, but they're pretty 7 goddamn good fights. Let's get into it, brother.
Yeah, yeah, and we want to get this done as well before your painkillers wear off. It's kind of,
I wish you
you
could see
know,
that. They had me. Maybe I'll get video of it, but they had me. My first time ever in a wheelchair. I have two very nice, very attractive ladies who are doing physical therapy with me, and I'm doing laps around the fourth floor in my wheelchair, and I I want to be healed. I want all this to be fixed, but looking on the maybe I'm just high or something, but this is all very interesting. I want my feet to be healed, but this is all new stuff.
you're entertained. You're entertained.
Yes, you got to see the bright side. You got to see the bright side.
All right, so we'll start with on the 7 fight card. Number 3 Diego Lopez versus number 14 ranked Steve Garcia. Both guys have decent records in the UFC, 6-3
Oh
and
yeah.
8-2, and respectable records overall, definitely. So, what's your view on this fight, this matchup?
I love this fight, Pat. I love this from a fan perspective. Is this the great? I mean, this we had Davison Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt started the UFC 300 card. This is right up there. This is your first fight of the night? Are you freaking kidding me? Yeah, we got two absolute warriors here. Diego Lopez has challenged for the featherweight title multiple times. Volkanovski seems to have his number, but Lopez is easily top 3 in this division. Nobody
Yeah,
can beat Gene Silva. Diego Lopez beat Gene Silva, beat him badly. Lopez is great, man. Another thing I love about this fight, we got big line movement. We're kicking off the UFC White House card with some big line movement, and I can't wait to see if you agree with it or not. Over on Caesar's Sportsbook, Pat, Diego Lopez opened up at minus 210. He's down to minus 150 now, which is very interesting to me. And this is what you see when you look at the casual better as opposed to the die-hard better who's got millions behind him. Diego Lopez is the more household name. Steve Garcia is no joke, dude. He doesn't have the hype, doesn't have the aura of Diego Lopez, but there's a reason we're seeing the line move in the direction of Steve Garcia about 40 points. His line's basically been cut in half. Diego Lopez was about 210. Now he's minus 150. Garcia's gonna be my lean here, man. Lopez is very good. I just think Garcia is a little more disciplined, and I think this is really a straight up 50-50 fight. So a 50-50 fight should be minus 110 on either side when you factor in juice. It's not. This is a 50-50 fight, and I can get one of the guys at plus 140. Well, my job's done. It won't be a huge bet, but I will have, let's go half a unit bet. I don't have to bet that much because it's plus money. Let's go a half unit bet on Steve Garcia to start off the UFC White House, baby. Are you with me or are you with me?
well, everything you said about Lopez is correct. If this fight goes to the ground, Lopez is going to win. If Garcia cannot stop takedowns or effectively get back up, Lopez is going to give him problems because Lopez has dominated people on the ground. He's never been finished, has 12 finishes on the ground. Garcia, 0 ground finishes and has lost 1. His obviously claim to fame is 15 KOs, only been finished once standing up. So he's got to get it done standing up no matter what. Can he do that? I think there's a chance, of course. 100%. He's dangerous as hell standing up. But Lopez, at the same time, has 11 KOs and 2 losses by KO standing up, TKO, KO. So is he? Here's the thing, man, and the 50-50 thing that you say is legitimately it's sticking in my craw with this one because Lopez is good enough to stand up with Garcia for a while, and he's good enough to beat him definitely on the ground and finishing. So it's like I'm leaning a little bit towards Lopez, even though I'm being dragged by Garcia, being on a 7 fight run right now. He's done really well for himself. He's been very hot, although his competition hasn't been quite as good as Lopez's. So it's like six in one, half dozen in the other on this one, bro. It's like that's a tough one. That's a tough one. But you're leaning Lopez.
I am leaning. No, I'm leaning.
Garcia. You're leaning Garcia. All
Yeah,
right, I'm
plus
I'm
money.
leaning Lopez
I
just
love it.
a slight,
I love
just
it.
barely.
I love it.
Just
And let me
barely. So
throw out. We got a little more time to play with here with only 7 fights. Just so I maybe it's the drugs talking, but just so I can mess with your head just a little bit more, Pat. Let me throw this out for you. Who's the guy who has Diego Lopez's number? Well, it's the great, the Australian, one of my favorites and Pat's favorites, Alex Volkanovski.
yeah.
How does Volkanovski fight? He's very measured. He's very technical. He's not a big wrestler. He can wrestle, but he's gonna beat you just being in, out, angles. He's an artist. Lopez is a little more crazy. So when he gets a guy like Gene Silva, he can get in a barn fight with him, get in a back alley fight, make it dirty. That's where Lopez thrives. Lopez does not do so good against very technical, measured guys. I think Steve Garcia could very easily be a Mexican Alexander Volkanovski, a poor man's Volkanovski, so to speak. There's a lot of similarities, and Lopez does seem to struggle with the measured, calculated, responsible fighters, as opposed to he can really beat the kind of carefree, crazy, wild fighters. When a guy's in there and going to be measured and technical, it almost seems to bug Lopez a bit.
Yeah. No, good point. And I mean, Volkanovski is very unique as well. He's a great counter fighter. He acquired a great counter fighting skill set from being shorter than most of his opponents. Very explosive, a guy that used to carry around a lot more weight, which makes him incredibly strong. There's a lot of components that makes Volkanovski kind of inhuman compared to most people. So that's the uniqueness of Volkanovski. So all right, so you're going to go with Garcia. I'm going to lean slightly with Lopez. We'll see how that works out next week. So everybody out there, um, you know, tread lightly in that whole bet
Don't
probably
blow
because
your
it's
entire bankroll on the first fight for the UFC White House.
right, right. Okay, moving on to number 24, Bo Nickel against Kyle Dawkins, number 18. I know how I see this fight. Yeah, you go ahead and dissect this one a little bit, and we'll banter back and forth a little bit.
Well, this should have been Bo Nickel, Colby Covington, and I'm still a little disappointed that it's not. But Colby Covington wanted too much money for a guy who was very much on the downswing of his career. And apparently, Colby's not that much of a patriot because he wanted a few million to fight at the White House. So I joke, of course. But so instead of Colby Covington, we get Kyle Dawkins. Kyle Dawkins is a very interesting story. Came into the UFC as a bit of a prospect, was up and down, and then got cut, and then went right back to the minor leagues and dominated. But he was already dominating the minor leagues before he came to the UFC. So Hunter, Dana, Shelby, whoever makes these decisions, said, "Okay, come on back." And Kyle Dawkins, dare I say, is looking like a future title contender. He's beaten some very good guys, beat the hell out of Michel Pereira, and is just this is you've talked about it before. A lot of the times these young, incredibly talented, incredibly smart guys get thrown into the deep end a little bit early, and then they struggle a little bit. Look at
Right.
Bo Nickel. He came into contender series at 1-0, and then I think he had two contender series fights, which means he came into the UFC at 3-0. I don't care how big of a blue chip prospect you are, that's never going to be easy, Pat. These guys are so freaking good in the UFC. I don't care how good of a wrestler you are. I don't care how big of a prospect you are. We're going to see it with Gable Stevenson. I would make a bet Gable Stevenson will lose one of his first 5 fights. I would make that bet right now. And it's so hard to win fights at the highest level. I like Bo Nickel. I've always liked Bo Nickel. Other than the Renair de Ritter kind of weird fight, he's looked dominant, man. And for a guy who's obviously the wrestling pedigree's there, he's shown a lot of power, kind of like a lot of the Militech guys did. You give these guys like Jens Pulver and Matt Hughes, and you're not allowed to punch people when you're an all-American wrestler, but you could punch people in the octagon, and you know way better than I do, but they just take to it. Some of these big boys just take to striking. Bo Nickel has real power, real finishing power. He'll always be a wrestler at heart, but I think his striking's come along fine. I do like the line movement. Bo Nickel opened up at minus 280 on FanDuel. He's minus 340 now. It's hard, man. I'm gonna go half unit again. This time, instead of putting a half unit on plus money, I'm putting half unit on a pretty big favorite. I might parlay him with a Josh Hokett, not to jump ahead, but I like Hokett a lot. If I parlay Hokett and Bo Nickel, I'm getting close to double my money. I don't want to put a ton on it because there's so many unknowns with Bo Nickel, but there's unknowns with Kyle Dawkins too. Remember, this guy got cut from the UFC not too long ago. I'm gonna lean Bo Nickel, but would a Kyle Dawkins upset surprise me? Absolutely not.
Well, a lot of good points. I think Bo Nickel has had Kyle Dawkins handpicked for him. He's batting 500 standing up. He's not a great stand-up striker. Kyle Dawkins getting a takedown on Bo Nickel to employ his 12-0 record with submissions. Not likely. Bo Nickel has a chance to stuff takedowns, work his boxing, all of that on a guy that's not a great striker. So I think Dawkins has been handpicked for Bo Nickel to win. So it's really for Bo Nickel to lose if he actually does that. Colby Covington not fighting Bo Nickel is probably by design because Colby Covington, in my humble opinion, even with his somewhat degraded skill set at this point in his career, I think Colby Covington absolutely decimates Bo Nickel in an MMA fight, not a wrestling match. He's not ever going to beat Bo Nickel in a wrestling match, but standing up, being able to stuff takedowns periodically, create scrambles, all that sort of stuff. I think Colby Covington would have wrecked Bo Nickel standing up
Wow.
and won a fight with him. He would have run him out of gas and beat him up. Bo Nichols does not like getting hit. He does not like it when people start putting the hammer on him, and I think that showed in his loss to DeRitter. So Dawkins has been handpicked, in my humble opinion, for Bo Nickel to look good, and so I lean towards Bo Nickel in this fight because of that.
I got a quote for you, Coach, and I think that you'll like this. So, in Bo Nichols' one loss, only UFC loss, only MMA loss to Renair de Ritter, he said that his game plan, coaching, etc., was don't take de Ritter down because he's so good at submissions, you'll get caught in something. And that's what he did, and it didn't work out too well for him. And I love this quote from Bo, and I think it shows his maturity. His next fight was against one of the best grapplers in the entire UFC. And what did Bo Nickel do? 30 seconds into that fight, he picked him up, put him on his butt, put his head in his face, and said, if you want to try to submit me, here I am. And he dominated in that fight. And I love his quote after. He said, against Renair de Ritter, I left my greatest weapon at home. I will never do that again. I love that.
Right, right. Yeah. So, all right, Bo Nickel, both of us pick him to win. Does he get a finish, Josh?
I think that there's been an interesting trend with Bo Nickel, and I've been betting Bo Nickel fights to go to decision lately. And that is something that he has shown the capacity to do. And as he gets more patient and is chasing wins instead of finishes, I think that we see that. Let's see what I can almost guarantee fight goes to decision will be plus money. It is. But it's moving in the right direction. I'm happy that you brought this up because I might have forgot it. Fight goes to decision for Bo Nickel, Kyle Dawkins, opened at plus 200. It's plus 160 now. I love that. I'm going to say it right here. As much money, if I'm betting 500 on a Bo Nickel, Josh Hokett parlay, I'm also betting 500 on fight goes to decision. And I can almost guarantee you at least one of those bets will win. So I'm glad you brought that up because I love this fight to go to decision. I just think we've seen hints of it, but as Bo Nickel becomes a more responsible fighter, I think he's chasing wins, not finishes, And I'm kind of liking plus 160 fight goes to decision here, man.
All right, there you go. All right, moving on. Mauricio Rufy against Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler still at it. The old war horse coming back in for the White House show, number 17 in the world against number 11, Mauricio Rufy. Rufy only 4-1 in the UFC, 13-2 overall. Not a massive amount of experience, but we also have to remember he's scored 12 of his 13 wins by KO. The boy can bang, right?
Yes, he can. Yeah, they're two very good fighters. I almost wish that in order for this to be a much better fight, we're getting Rufy in his prime. We're about maybe 5 years away from a Michael Chandler prime. I would have loved to see this fight happen earlier. I think Hoofy's got him, man. This has been a tough road for Michael Chandler. All the respect in the world to him. From everything that I've heard, he's a fantastic person as well as a fantastic athlete. And you look at the things he did in Bellator, man. He's a phenomenal fighter, and then comes right into the UFC, knocks out Dan Hooker in the first round. There's a lot to love here. Michael Chandler's issue is he only fights the best, and so Charles Oliveira got him. But they're all close fights. He knocks down
Oh
Charles
yeah.
Oliveira. Oliveira survives, gets knocked down of his own, finishes him. He beat up Dustin Poirier for the entire first round. Dustin Poirier rallies, wins in the third round.
Is that a betting thing? Is that a betting thing with Chandler if it gets into the second round? Are you looking for the other guy then?
Good call, Pat. I'm pretty sure that was in the very early MMA Mobsters days before we were even doing a show. We were just talking, and Poirier was fighting Chandler, and I was like, if this fight gets into the back end of the second round, I'm hammering Poirier because Chandler. Maybe it's age, maybe it's the fact that he's just all systems go from the first second when that bell rings,
Yeah.
but he does tucker out later stages of the second round and then the third round. That's how Gaethje beat him. He puts it on Gaethje. It looked like he was going to finish Gaethje in the first round. Clearly won the first round. Gaethje wins the next two rounds. That's the book on Chandler, as he's going to really have a good first half of the fight. The second half is just not that good. So it's very likely Hoofy just puts him out in the first round, or Hoofy's already winning the fight so severely that you're not getting a good deal getting him live, because Hoofy is minus 700 now. If he kicks Chandler's butt for the first round, his live odds are going to jump out to minus 2,000. There's not an edge in betting him live at that point. But if Chandler wins the first round, I will be betting a large amount of money on Hoofy live, because Hoofy will almost certainly win the second and third round, probably finish him.
Great points for those out there that are paying attention to how to do live betting. Definitely, so pay attention to that. All right, moving on. This is going to be fun.
What's your prediction, brother? I know you like Hoofy. Give me
I
give,
pick who I pick Hoofy to win.
give me
I
the
call
round
him
and the
I
method.
call him Ruffy. I don't speak Portuguese, bro.
Give me the round and the method for how and when does he finish Chandler?
I think Rufy puts him away in the third round by KO.
Well,
So that's my pick. And what, just by chance, what would a KO by Rufy be? The odds.
in the third round or at any point in the fight?
Oh, third round. Go with third round by
Third
all
round.
means.
All right, Lee, if you want to be looking that up too, but I think I have found it. Hoofy wins in round three is looks like plus 500. Yeah, plus
Plus
600
what?
actually, Pat, which is kind of crazy for a guy who's minus 700 to just win the fight, plus 600 to win in the third round. That's definitely worth a shot.
Are you possibly going to do a 1 unit bet on Hoofy by KO in the third round?
Tell you what I'll do, Pat. My typical bet is probably like 500. I will put $50 right now on Hoofy to win in the third round. Boom! I just made the bet. There we go. And I would be
That's so
turning
kind of
50.
kind of you.
I would be turning 50 into 400 basically.
I mean, you're making me feel fuzzy and warm now. Thank you for that kind gesture. Thank you for
I'm
that.
fuzzy and
All
warm,
right.
but it's
hydroxidone that's making me fuzzy.
All right. Let's go to Derek Lewis versus Josh Hokett. Josh Hokett's quite a character. He's laying it on thick.
Yeah, so similar. Lee is
Uh,
backing up the odds. I
okay,
saw
plus
it.
700,
Yeah,
700 on FanDuel, huh?
yeah.
Well, there you go.
And that's a good reminder that not all sports books are created the same. So if you really like a bet, like Pat likes this bet, why wouldn't you look at all 9 or 10 legal sports books and pick the best odds? It's common sense, but you'd be surprised how many times people don't do it. So we call it odd shopping or line shopping. Always odd shop, always line shop. Get the best bang for your buck. Right?
And to the people out there like FanDuel, I mean, when you have a dedicated crew like we have, Joshua Chovan that will do a show from a hospital bed, there is no reason that you shouldn't be sponsoring this show, 100%, because we are the best in the business and two the most dedicated, right?
That's that's
So
good.
there
And
you go.
pretty damn good looking too, if I say so myself. So, all
Okay,
right,
okay, all right, okay.
both of us. It's no homo or anything, but so yeah. Anyway, what's the next fight,
All
Pat?
right, let's go on to Derek Lewis, number 10 in the world, versus number 11, Josh Hokett. Josh Hokett, 3-0 in the UFC. Derek Lewis, a million fights, 31 fights in the UFC, 20-11, which is a pretty good record overall. I mean, it really is. Lewis has done well for himself, probably printed a lot of money, and uh, and certainly fed himself well off of his winnings. But this is an interesting fight because Hokett came out and said, if you think I'm going to stand up and just brawl with Derek Lewis, you're crazy. I actually think he might. I really think that he actually might give that a try, at least for a little bit. I don't know if that's smart to do, but what are your thoughts on how this fight goes down and who comes out on top? They're heavyweights, anything can happen.
I just want to say this right now, Pat, and I think you'll enjoy this from a professional sports bettor who bets everything but focuses on MMA, and that's kind of my niche. And I think a lot of pro bettors would agree with me. Derek Lewis is one of the most frustrating fighters in the history of MMA. The handicap because you never know what you're getting with him. The typical
Right.
Derek Lewis fight is he cannot handle wrestlers, and similar to Michael Chandler, when you get him not even outside of the first round, when you get him halfway through the first round, he slowly devolves into a different fighter. He's the scariest man alive for the first 2 minutes, and that's when he gets a lot of his finishes. That power goes away, but
Agreed.
it's not that simple, Pat. He had a fight just like a year and a half ago where he was fighting a wrestler and he got his butt kicked the first couple rounds and then came back in the fourth round. He does that too. He did that against the great Alexander Volkov, where it gets his butt kicked the entire fight and then gets a finish with 20 seconds left. So he usually gasses out, but then sometimes he doesn't. I think it's Derek Lewis's world, and we're just all living in it. I swear he's multiple different.
Unpredictable.
He's very yes, thank you. He's very unpredictable.
Totally unpredictable. So uh, the odds are leaning towards Hokett, of course. Where are they at now?
Open up at minus 300 for Hokett Pat, which I said immediately was low. I said on Twitter or Facebook or something, as soon as those odds were released, I would bet Hokett up to minus 1,000. I said minus 300 is way low. Between you, me, and the rest of the hospital, I'm a little surprised that it's only minus 430. I'm surprised this hasn't been bet into four-digit territory. I would. If Josh Hockett was minus 1,000, I'd still be betting him. So I think minus 400 is steal. You got to be careful disrespecting Derek Lewis or taking Derek Lewis lightly because that does not go well for people. As much as Josh Hokett likes to act like an idiot for social media views, an idiot he is not. He's actually very intelligent. Seems to be a pretty high character guy, despite That's just the UFC now. You have to kind of be an idiot to make a name for yourself. That may be another story for another show. But you know,
Right.
he would have never gotten this fight unless he would have played the idiot, played the Mexican Jedi or whatever he was doing. The kid can fight though. What a fight against Curtis Blades. Won all 3 rounds. Won really every minute of that fight, and looked like he was maybe going to gas. Found a fifth gear. Found a sixth gear. This kid's legit, man. Josh Hokett will win this fight. He will dominate Derek Lewis, and then I think he fights the winner of our main event. Boom! I mean, that's obviously what the UFC is trying to do. Which what a career! Did anyone know who Josh Hokett was 6 months ago? Most UFC fans did not.
Not
Now
at
we're
all.
talking
No.
about a guy who's going to be fighting for the title if he gets past Derek Lewis. Minus 430. Josh Hokett is, drum roll please, my favorite bet of the entire card. I do really, there's a lot of bets I like. I think that Hockett, put him in all your parlays, and it's MMA. Anything can happen. It's Derek Lewis. Anything can definitely happen. But Derek Lewis is on the wrong, I believe he's on the wrong side of 40 or getting damn near close. Yes, he's amazing. Yes, he's shocked us before. I don't see how it happens. Sunday, give me Josh Hockett by finish. Let's go.
So what you're saying is the numbers on Hokett would be much higher if the employees at the hospital weren't getting into the pharmaceutical supplies there at the facility
That's exactly what I'm
because
saying.
they're just not aware. They're just not aware of the.
The hydroxycodone
Yeah,
opens up your third eye and gives you analysis that you would not previously
I
have
think
had.
I think actually it drops a lead blanket over it. But anyway. All right. I'm leaning towards Hoken as well. Got to watch out for the Derek Lewis bombs. If he can weather a few of those or get out of the way of them, he should have Derek Lewis tired and not doing well in that fight by mid second round. And I think Hoken pulls it out as long as he performs the way we know he can. So all right, moving on to Sean O'Malley against Zahabi. Zahabi, pretty dangerous guy in his own right. 7-0 his last 7 fights. Had a pretty high competition level. Of course, O'Malley has fought some straight up killers as well. What's your breakdown on this fight?
This fight's fascinating to me, Pat. Definitely the most intriguing fight of this UFC White House card. Zahabi just keeps on winning. Zahabi was not very popular when he first came into the UFC. I think there's kind of a silver spoon mentality, and that he is the brother of a very successful MMA trainer out there in Montreal at TriStar. The guy who really, similar to how Pat Militech brought us Robbie Lawler and Tim Sylvia and Matt Hughes, Ayman Zahabi brought us GSP. He really turned GSP into not only the warrior that he was, but the mental master and all that. So we get Zahabi's brother, and the thing was very disrespectful. He wouldn't be in the UFC if his brother wasn't an top three coach in all of MMA. And that's not the case, man. We're talking about a guy who has beat Jose Aldo, a guy who has a long list of names of scalps he has taken and keeps adding to it. I'm gonna go Sean O'Malley here, but I'm getting kind of tired about betting against Aman Zahabi and him pulling off these wins. When you look at the line movement, Sean O'Malley, the Rainbow Warrior, opened up at minus 390. He's minus 460 now. It's about 70 points move in the right direction. I think that O'Malley wins. Two very technical fighters. This fight going to decision might shock a lot of people, but I think there's a very good chance it does. Give me O'Malley here, but it's going to be another half unit bet because the hobby's legit, and I think he's still growing up. I think he's still evolving. We may not have seen the best version of Zahabi yet, because the kid, I'm willing to put my hand up and eat some humble pie. Zahabi has far exceeded my expectations, and I hope that Sean O'Malley isn't coming in here thinking it's going to be an easy day at the White House, because it's not.
Well, I'm leaning just slightly the other way with Zahabi. I think he's extremely hungry. 7-0 in his last 7 fights. And ultimately, I think O'Malley's been through enough wars and had enough fights where maybe the polish is knocked off a little bit. There's certainly an awful lot of footage on him. People can study him, break him down, all that sort of stuff a little bit. And he's lived a playboy's life here for quite a while. He's lived hard, played rough, died, he's going to die mean. But ultimately, I think Zahabi is a really hungry lion coming up here, and we may just see an upset. So I'm leaning just barely towards Zahabi in this one. So it'll be interesting to watch and see how this one turns out. So
I
yeah,
love
it's gonna
that,
be
Pat,
fun.
because as I was, like I said, I have to lean O'Malley, but the fact that I was saying Zahabi's a very live dog, I thought you were going to eat me alive on that one. It's interesting that he's your pick straight up. That's I love it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I think
go ahead.
he may just pull this one out, buddy. And he's fought some tough competition along the way.
Yeah, and once
He's
again,
he's fought. Go ahead.
Give me fight goes to decision once again. That's minus 160. I'm a little surprised it's not plus money, but I think like the past five or six O'Malley fights have gone to decision. He's become more of a point fighter. When he was fighting like 40-year-old Scott Jorgensen and stuff, he was knocking him out in the first round. But as this competition goes up, he's very dangerous, but seems to go to decision a lot. So does the hobby. So at minus 160, I may like minus 160 fight goes to decision more than I like minus 450 Sean O'Malley. And that's not, I'm serious. I really do feel that way.
What kind of money do I make on Zahabi with $100 bet? Him winning by decision or just winning?
Just winning, you would quadruple your money, so you would turn 100 into about $450. Taking him by decision would probably turn $100 into about 800.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I think Zahabi wins by decision in this one, and so yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see how it pans out, and we'll revisit this next week. Okay, moving on to Alex Pereira against Cyril Gahn. Pereira moving up to heavyweight. Both guys 10-2, of course, different weight divisions in the UFC. Both guys with 13 victories in MMA. Pereira's got a million kickboxing matches. Gone. Cyril Gahn has a lot of kickboxing matches as well. Can Pereira knock out a true heavyweight who's a world class heavyweight? That's what remains to be seen. Look, I think Pereira's left hook can kill almost anyone. It's a scary, scary left hook. One of the best, if not the best, mechanically sound left hooks I've ever seen in my life with the way he loads his hips and his legs and launches that thing. It's terrifying. And I've seen some people live go. I called his first American side, his stateside fight, and that left hook that landed on that poor soul. That was a terrifying left hook. About killed the
He's probably
kid.
still feeling that.
But he's
Yeah.
dealing. What's that?
He's probably still feeling that left hook 6 years later or whatever. Yeah.
I don't know if he's ever fought again. To be honest with you, I don't. It was bad. It was really bad. So, okay. So go ahead and break this fight down a little bit. Heavyweight against light heavyweight. Pereira putting on weight. How's his endurance going to be? There's a lot of variables here, right?
Yeah, let's not forget this is technically a heavyweight against a middleweight. Alex Pereira came into our lives really only because he had beaten the great or once great Israel Adesanya a few times in kickboxing, and then he has success at middleweight, goes up to light heavyweight. That's has even more success at light heavyweight. Why not keep going up divisions? Pat, I love line movement, so this fascinates me. The great Alex Pereira opens up at minus 150 on FanDuel Sportsbook. He's minus 100 now, Pat. This is a true pick'em fight. The betters, the sharp betters, turn this into a pick'em fight, and it just goes to show the difference between the pro better and the casual better. The casual better is going to be all over Alex Pereira because outside of a weird fight against Donkalaev and the weird rematch with Adesanya, the man does not lose, so he can just beat anyone. weight classes exist for a reason. And again, we're looking at a guy that 2 years ago was a middleweight. And so, yes, he's amazing. Yes, he's made out of mahogany, granite, whatever. Yes, he has incredible power in all of his limbs, but it's not as easy as just, oh, And so I think that the line movement is fair. And Cyril Gahn is no joke, dude. This is a guy who is an extremely talented fighter. Alex Pereira has struggled with takedown defense, and I don't think that it's gotten a ton better. I think that he just had a bunch of fights with Yuri Prohaska, who, with his ninja warrior mentality, refused to take him down because that was the coward's way out or whatever. So he played Rock'em Sock'em Robots with him. And the UFC has protected Pereira a little bit and kept him away from these
Sure.
wrestlers. He should have fought Ankalaev years before he did. They protected him from Ankalaev, and so this is a insanely good fight. I don't want to pick a winner here because I really think that I'm going to say line movement be damned. I'm going to lean Alex Pereira because but it's going to be a close fight. What do you think? Because
Are
this is
you, hold on a second. Are you saying that you're leaning with the casual betters?
Oh no, I did just say that. Cut that out, Lee. Bleep that. Bleep that.
You're leaning with the casual weekend warriors, bro. What's up?
Pat, I would get up and storm off set, but I can't put pressure on either of my feet, so I'm stuck here listening to you make fun of me for the rest of the show.
Well, no, well, look, I mean, it is a true pick 'em. I mean, there's so much
It is.
unknown here that, does Pereira have the power, like I said, to hurt a heavyweight like Cyril Gahn? I think he does, but Gahn's not a wrestler. Gahn's a kickboxer. I mean, he's from France, for God's sakes. They can't spell wrestling to begin with, so let's be honest there with that.
Has several
So
submission wins though. It has Gon has several submission wins to his credit.
after he hit them with a right cross and dropped them and pounced on them,
Good
probably, to
job.
be
Good
honest
for
with you.
you. Glad I catch you sleeping.
So yeah, so bro, um, I'm leaning Gahn just slightly leaning towards Gahn. So that's my pick, and I'm sticking to it, buddy.
And
All right,
also
we good on that one?
it's worth mentioning, and then we'll move on to the main event. It's worth mentioning that Mr. Cyril Gahn has never been knocked out in the UFC.
Right.
Ngannou beat him on a very close decision. John Jones choked him out. Alex Pereira's path to victory is a knockout. How are you going to knock out a guy who every other heavyweight hasn't been able to knock out, and you're not a real heavyweight? So I can see the case for Cyril Gahn, and there's a very good chance I reverse my pick by Sunday and I'm on the Gahn train because yeah, from a casual perspective, oh, Alex Pereira, he's collecting UFC belts like they're infinity stones. He's the greatest ever. I think he is probably top five greatest ever, but there's so many factors that are leaning in Gon's direction. And the crazy thing is, Gon could win, and everyone would say it's a huge upset. Well, no, it's not a huge upset because it's a pick 'em for the betting line. But most fans would see a Gon win as a massive upset when it's not.
Yeah, and not that I want to stretch this out any further than we have to, but I can't help but notice observing here with Diego Lopez and Garcia, uh, that fight I'm not talking about, but but we've got at least five or six guys that aren't even from the United States that are fighting on the UFC card, right?
Hmm.
This is kind of it's definitely a truly international show.
Hmm.
So it's not a American Freedom 250 birthday fight card, or you could say, well, America's all immigrants technically, besides the originals, the natives, the indigenous. So it is about America and its 250 birthday, whatever you want to say. But I was just observing that there's quite a few folks that are on this card from not born on American soil. But anyway,
Well,
That
we
being
got a
said,
pretty badass American coming up in our main event, Pat. So how about we get to that, brother?
yeah, let's go with the main event. Number one, Ilya Topuria versus Justin Gaethje, number five in the world. Um, I have a feeling you're leaning pretty heavily towards one of these characters. I know I am. I don't necessarily. I like them both. Both fighters are incredible athletes and have done amazing things with their careers. One's just kind of the a little bit younger version, a little bit quicker, a little bit slicker at this point. But give me your breakdown on this.
Well, Pat, I kind of want to get your take on this. I'm going to give you some line movement and see if this surprises you. So, Bet Rivers and most sports books, I think Bet Rivers is probably the most egregious in this circumstance, but Bet Rivers opened up Ilya Topuria at minus 770, which is pretty damn disrespectful to the human highlight reel Justin Gaethje, especially since Gaethje's just coming off a big upset. He was a huge dog to Paddy Pimblett, of all people, and very good fight back and forth, but he clearly beat Paddy Pimblett as a big underdog. And so I think making Ilya Topuria minus 770 was a little bit aggressive. He's been bet down to about minus 550, and I think that's more fair. Usually that would set off warning bells for me when sharp money is going against him, but I think this was more of a correction of the market. Nobody in the world should be minus 800 against Justin Gaethje. I know that Ilya is Jesus Christ reborn. His run of knocking out Volkanovski, knocking out Max Holloway, knocking out Charles Oliveira, all in the first two rounds. It's unheard of. It's bigger than Conor McGregor's run. It's amazing, but that doesn't mean that Justin Gaethje is just gonna bow down and say, "I surrender. You're the better man." No, Justin Gaethje is gonna come out there, fight every second. He's gonna make Topuria win this, and Gaethje's got a chin on him. So shots that have put other guys out may not necessarily put Gaethje out. Listen, man, Ilya's much younger, and Ilya has looked really invincible up to this point. So I am going to pick Ilya. I think he's fairly safe to put in your parlays, but don't expect an easy fight, man. I think Gaethje drags this out for a few rounds, makes Ilya work, but then eventually Ilya puts him away.
I do agree with you. I mean, Paddy Pimblett is in no way, shape, or form Ilya Topuria. So a win over Paddy, while he was not favored to win, and we did pick him in that fight, by the way, just so people know and are reminded that we did pick Gaethje
Pat,
in
we
that
had a
fight.
double whammy on that one. We not only picked Gaethje, we picked Gaethje by decision. It was like 8-1. It was yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Bet by
yeah.
us.
So, but Ilya Topuria is a totally different animal, bro. Ilya Topuria is, Justin gets into ugly fights. He's not got the best defense, striking defense in the world for sure. Topuria, very crisp, very, very sound fundamentals. Movement is great. Defensive skills are great. I mean, Gaethje is going to get himself in trouble real quick in this one, I think. And for anybody out there, if you want to pick the winner of the fight, who wins, the round it ends, and the fashion that it ends, you can win Cell Saviors products, Diamine clothing. So please, by all means, make sure you comment, share, and like all of this, and give us your pick, man. Just shoot it out there. Give us your pick. If you've got Gaethje, if you got Topuria, how the fight ends and what round, and we'll send you some free stuff. So I've got Ilya Topuria by KO, fourth round. That's the way I see it. You see it in the third round taking place with your IV stabbed hand. He raises it up. Dude, he's got all kinds of shit, hardware hanging out of his hands. Look at that dedication from Josh. So, yeah. Look, like, share, comment, all that good
Yes.
stuff. We love you guys listening to us.
Instagram,
And
TikTok,
please,
Facebook.
yeah, and please support cellsaviors.org, dimene.com. Look, work hard, play rough, dimene, that mentality. Everybody should have that mentality of getting after it, enjoying life, and never giving up. That is dimene.com. And
Yes,
then
sir.
grapplersclash.com for all the grapplers out there. Get on grapplersclash.com and join us there. And Josh, anything else? Anything else you want to say in
Yes, sir.
closing
I know
before we
we're a
go?
little bit over time, but it's the UFC White House. So two things we need to cover quickly. I am going to read our three chat questions, and then maybe while I'm doing that, the great Lee can cook up our 7 leg parlay. Lee, just pick our most seven popular bets. Try to get a couple, maybe just seven winners, and we'll see what that 7 leg parlay pays out. Oh, it's my good friend Jerstens. This guy's becoming my favorite MMA Mobster super fan. He's coming in hot. He goes, "Hey Chauvin, be honest. Did you owe some bookie money?" Jersten Jersten
That's a
thinks
good one.
that was very good, and it's certainly possible. No, this is not a big cover up. I did not have a 500 pounds Italian guy named Vito beat me up because I owed him money. But very clever Jerstens. We need to get him on here live. This guy's funny. This is a question for you, Mr. Militech. Besides the fighters you've trained, have there been any fighters that reminded you of you?
Uh, I mean, stylistically, they're saying. I mean, I just did. All I know is I did my best to be as well balanced as possible, uh, and play pay attention to defensive skills. So that I stuttered a little bit less when I got to this age. That was the point, to be able to speak. So yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I would love to say a modern day world class fighter like Ilya Topuria, but I I wasn't that good. So anyway,
And I'll chime in a little bit here because Pat can be very humble. Pat seems to like guys who you see guys that he's fans of are similar to him. I know that he really likes Michael Chandler. He really likes Volkanovski, and those are guys that are in the Pat Miletich mode. They can strike, they can wrestle, so on and so forth. His last question is, "Hey Chauvin, besides Vegas Vacation, which has been discussed, what is your second favorite gambling movie, and is it Rounders?" Rounders is fine. That's more of a poker movie, which is certainly gambling. I'm not a big poker guy. I do have my number two gambling movie for you though, Uncut Gems, starring Adam Sandler. And he is not your typical put on your yarmulke, it's time for Hanukkah. He plays a degenerate gambler in New York City. Watch it on Netflix. It's amazing. Pat, watch, like, subscribe, give us a sign off for UFC White House, brother. Let's go.
all right, man. For Joshua Chauvin, my co-host, I am Pat Militich saying so long. Enjoy the White House card, and let's pray for no rain. All right, guys, take care.